Let's answer a hypothetical question. And that question is, how should I take my next steps to learn about the BattleTech universe? What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem. The BattleTech setting is an absolute hidden gem of a setting, right? It's a fantastic space opera. It's existed for over 4 decades now as of 2025, and its timeline spans roughly 4 centuries or so. A whole lot of lore in it, very well fleshed out, feels very relatable, believable, livable, very lived in, which makes for a very well done setting, in my opinion, but also means it can be intimidating for newcomers. And I got to thinking about this question due to an unrelated hobby of mine, which is 3D printing. Well, not completely unrelated, but mostly unrelated. Um, because while I'm no expert in it at all, I feel a lot more confident and competent now. And that happens when you first start something to, sticking with it a bit and learning more about it and doing it more. You get a bit more confident in it, a bit more capable with it. And that newcomer kind of shell, you come out of it. But in thinking about that recently, I got to thinking about the whole concept of being a newcomer. And that invariably got me thinking about it in other settings, including this one, BattleTech, or other ways. 3D printing isn't a setting, but you know what I mean. I got to think about it in other ways, both in hobbies and in life. And invariably, I got to think about BattleTech because it's one of my favorite settings, period. And here we are asking this question, hypothetically. And what's cool about this is that I have an answer that I feel pretty confident in. I was trying to think of the word for a second there. I feel pretty confident in this answer now that I wouldn't have had a few years ago because it didn't exist even a few years ago. And that answer is the BattleTech Universe book that Catalyst Game Labs put out pretty recently. I am not affiliated or sponsored by Catalyst Game Labs, by the way. Pretty clear by the state of this channel, right? But I just want to have full disclosures so we know. I spent my own money on this book when it came out. I've read through it. I've enjoyed it. And thinking about this question, this would definitely be the book that I would answer that question with because it's kind of its whole point of existing, really. And I really like that about the book, too. We didn't have a book like this before, really. There are different ways to get involved in understanding more about the BattleTech setting as a fan. But there's a bit more to it than this now. So this book exists in a physical form and in a digital form. I think it's definitely worth it in terms of picking up, even if you know the setting and have been a fan of it for years like I have, because it has cool art, that's always good, and it's a fun, digestible read. This is how a textbook should be written. Obviously, of course, this is for a fictional setting that you have an active interest in learning more about. And being that that's the case, the company is not going to write it in a way to dissuade you, right? They want you to spend more money. But to be clear, when I say textbook, I don't mean it in a negative connotation. And I say that because if you're like me, textbooks have been pretty trash your entire life growing up through school, right? They're written so dry that if they were any drier, they would catch fire. And it feels like they had a secret meeting for making textbooks that they decided we're going to make it as disinteresting as possible. Even if you're a fan of the subject, you don't want to read it. And they succeeded for the most part. Most textbooks I felt were just bad. I think this is why certain classrooms don't use textbooks anymore. But in any case, this is not like that. This is a textbook in all the right ways. And what I like about this book is that instead of trying to delve into one subject and go super in depth for the setting, this book tackles the entirety of the timeline in a very basic, foundational, appetizer sampler way. So you may miss a couple of things just because there's so much to talk about, but after reading this book, you'll have a pretty decent foundation that you can now delve further if you wish. And the reason why I like this book is an answer to that hypothetical question, right? Of, hey, I'm a newcomer. What should I do to learn more about BattleTech? The reason I like this book is because, well, yes, you have to spend money on it. Worst case scenario, this is the only BattleTech thing you buy. You decide interesting, but I'll just appreciate it and that's it and not go any further. And no harm, no foul. If you get the digital copy, it doesn't take up any space anywhere, physically, and you have some cool art to look at. If you got the physical copy, you still have the cool art to look at and you could resell it if you wanted to. But no harm, no foul. And that's the worst case scenario. You get a little bit of extra fun nerd knowledge, and that's it. But everything else past that is going to be you wanting to learn something further about the setting and having a great foundation to do so from. And that's why I really like this book. It's written in such a way that you're not front loaded with a bunch of technical jargon that you have to make sense of and then tackle the book, or you try to make sense of as you read. Instead, it's all easily digestible little snippets of information. Just enough to get your feet wet and have an understanding of the setting's kind of dynamic and feel. And the more you read, the more you learn, the more it kind of links together like a puzzle, and the clearer the picture becomes. And it's very basic, right? You're not going to be some guru expert, whatever that means for a fictional setting, but you're going to be able to then go from this book and then read a novel and not be lost, or not be wholly lost in what's going on necessarily. You're going to be able to pick up a source book and read the lore in there, or learn the miniature game, or attempt to learn it with people or whatever else while learning more lore, or play a video game and catch more of the references, or start actually catching references because now you know what they're referencing, and so on. So I think it's a fantastic start to the BattleTech journey. And even if you already are well in the BattleTech universe for yourself, it's a cool book to have too. So that's my thoughts there. That's the answer to this theoretical question that nobody's asked me, but I thought about for myself, because, that's what you do when you're sick. You have a lot of time to think when you can't do anything else. Anyways, that's that. So what do you think? Have you checked out the BattleTech Universe book? I think it even has a Forbes article on this book, which is funny, I think. But I just feel like they did a very good job with this book's concept. And while it did come out in the 40th anniversary year, I don't know what was the inspiration for making this book, but it definitely doesn't require an anniversary year like that to be in existence. It just is extra icing on that cake, of course. But cool art, great lore to learn about, all official canon stuff, right? Because it's from the source. And I think a newcomer will be able to navigate this book and digest it. They'll have questions, of course, maybe a little bit of confusion, as we do when we're new. But I think it'll be a great way to bolster your foundation and then go, you know what? I want to learn more about X, Y, or Z faction, and I have the confidence to do so and delve right in. And I think that's ultimately the goal of a book like that, and I think it works. Of course, I've been a part of the setting since the 90s, so I can't tell you that it actually works that way. That's just how I feel. So if you are newer and this is something that you did, let me know. Otherwise, if you own this book or whatever, share your thoughts in the comment section. And until next time, take care.